What is up, everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team Career Mode. We're here for round 3 of our 4th season in F1, and we are currently sat in 2nd in both championships after we had a mechanical failure in the previous race, which led to us falling off the top spot in both of them, Aston Martin taking over in the Constructors' Championship, and Max Verstappen, who of course now is driving for Aston Martin. He's jumped ship from Red Bull to Aston Martin, and he is... he is going to be leading the championship as of the previous race in Australia. This time we're going to be racing in China, and I'm hoping that we at least finish this session, preferably in the sort of top 5 or something like that. But if you've watched the previous seasons that I've driven around here, you may know that we really have been struggling quite a lot when it comes to China. I don't know what it is specifically about this track, but I can't seem to get hooked up around here at all. It's just one of those tracks that I feel like I have absolutely no rear grip and just generally can't seem to get the car hooked up around here at all. So yeah, we're gonna be riding the struggle bus a little bit here, but hopefully we can at least come away with some good points. Like I said, top 5 I feel like has to be the target here at least, and preferably Kevin Magnussen, my teammate, will get into the points a little bit as well. I'm very, very happy with how he's been performing so far, doing a lot better than Dennis Hauger was doing when he was driving for the team. You know, Magnussen so far, he had a P6 and a P8, I believe, which is pretty decent. You know, if he can start moving even further towards the front of the field, then that would be absolutely fantastic. But yeah, to be scoring points on a consistent basis is pretty much everything we need him to be doing to have our chances of finishing 3rd in the Constructors' Championship, which is the sponsorship target we are aiming for this season. So yeah, like I said, aiming for sort of top 5 from myself, and if Kevin can sort of bolster that with a sort of maybe P6 or P7, something like that, then I think we have a really good chance of keeping ourselves competitive in the championship fight. I fully expect Max Verstappen will probably do quite well again in this race, and well, it looks like it might actually be raining in quali and the race, so we'll see if that rings true. It does look like there's only a small chance of it, and in fact, when I checked the weather radar in practice, it seemed like quali it was going to be maybe only for a little bit, and then in the race it was just going to be a case of it coming right at the end of the race possibly. So actually, I think the majority of the running we're going to be doing this weekend is going to be in the dry, but there is a slim chance of rain in the Chinese Grand Prix here, so we will see what happens. But practice not terrible. I felt like I had really awful pace, especially in the middle sector, but we still managed to finish P10, so it wasn't the end of the world. Kevin Magnussen, P8 there. Again, not a bad performance from him, but you can see that if you compare us to the other soft runners, Théo Pourchaire topping the session there, he was all the way in the 129s, and I was in the high 131s. So yeah, quite a long way off the pace potentially. And yeah, I feel like in the race as well, my race pace is where I really seem to struggle. I can get a decent qualifying lap together, but when it comes to the race, I feel like I just go backwards compared to these guys. They are super consistent and also pretty pacey even in the race as well. Feels like me trying to contend with them, I end up cooking the tires, I end up having pretty much no grip. It's just not very pleasant. So yeah, we'll see what we can do in quali, but don't take that as an indictment of what will happen in the race necessarily, as we start here on a fresh set of soft compound tires. We do a 130.3, so we're already pretty improved from that little blip we had in practice, and yeah, hopefully we can continue sort of looking good here. The rain started to come down when I was on my 2nd flying lap, so we didn't manage to improve there. We ran about a second slower. I actually invalidated the lap right at the end, but yeah, that's a set of softs effectively wasted. We made it through into Q2, but only in P11, so I will have to find a bit of improvement if I want to make it through to Q3. You can see Kevin Magnussen there, P9, good performance from him, and the session topped by Perez in the Red Bull, so a pretty decent performance from him. But now we're looking at who's eliminated. No real surprises. Sargent, Lawson, Fittipaldi, Hulkenberg, Stroll and De Vries. Théo Pourchaire actually on the bubble of getting knocked out there, only a couple tenths faster than Sargent. Himself and Hauger both being outperformed by the 2 Alfa Romeos. That's a little bit disappointing for those two, you would have to say. but hopefully they can turn it around and get a little bit of a better performance in for Q2. It is going to be a wet session this time by the looks of things, as we do our first flying lap on the intermediate tyres, but it does seem to be drying up, so maybe it'll be dry by the end of the session, who knows. As we cross the lines to a 140.9, it sends us into P2, which is actually pretty good. I wasn't expecting to be that fast on the intermediate tyres, but we've managed to pull out a pretty good lap. I think everyone's going to go again, and they did go again on the intermediate tyres, actually, interestingly enough, even though the track was probably dry enough for softs by the end. So I went out on a run on softs, we got into the 137s, and perhaps unsurprisingly, given that nobody else went on softs, we did go fastest, and we're through to Q3, so I'm pretty happy with that. And hopefully we can continue this run of form. It will be a little bit more difficult in a dry session, you'd have to imagine. But yeah, hopefully the pace is here and the potential is here for us to maybe get a pole position or something like that. Who knows? Either way, Sainz, Piastri, Hauger, Zhou, Tsunoda and Ocon all knocked out there. Ocon behind the two Alfa Romeos. Again, I would wait to say he's not going to be happy with that one. He's a second slower than Hauger, who's the next driver in a sort of top team. So yeah, really bizarre from Ocon there that he was so much slower than everyone else, including his teammate, over a second slower than his teammate. Not sure what's going on there. We make our way into Q3. We're on a used set of softs to kick things off, and we cross the lines to a 130.2. It's the slowest time of the session so far, so we're definitely going to need to find some significant improvement if we want to mix it up for pole position. Unfortunately, I managed to do just that. As you can see, as we come around the final corner now, we are going to be improving by just under a second. It's going to be a 129.2, and that is good enough for P3. Okay, not bad, not bad. I'm happy with that. I was hoping to go for pole position, but I'm happy with that nonetheless.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top three: Albon, Leclerc and Robinson. With qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid line up for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
Alexander Albon, take a bow. P1, qualifying on the front row in P1 for the first time in Formula 1. He's ahead of Charles Leclerc by 1,000th of a second there. So yeah, very, very impressive stuff from him. He was, of course, my teammate in F1 22 towards the end, and he did a pretty good job of things. You know, he was battling me hard for the championships in both the seasons that we were teammates. But of course, none of that is canon since we're now in F1 23. Magnussen, my current teammate, qualifying in P8. Not a bad result from him. I would have liked to see a little bit better, but you know, hopefully he'll be able to make up some positions in the race. I might be able to make up some positions in the race as well, actually, if I'm going to be contending with these guys. Yeah, we'll see what we can do. But it looks like the rain is not going to come till the very end of the race, so hopefully we can have a good performance in the dry in the Chinese Grand Prix.
The Chinese Grand Prix then is upon us once again. A race that saw Michael Schumacher claim his final Formula 1 victory in 2006, as well as Red Bull's first with Sebastian Vettel in 2009. There's no doubt plenty more drama to come here in Shanghai. Shanghai International Circuit then is a 16-corner high-speed thrill ride. The long and ever-tightening right-hander at turns 1 and 2 tests the driver's patience, and the flat open to the elements location tests their skill in a crosswind. 2 DRS zones will assist passing, and they're available into turn 1 and down the kilometre-long back straight into turn 14. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. What a great lap from Alexander Albon yesterday. He'll start from pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Robinson, Verstappen, Norris, Perez, Magnussen, Russell, Gasly, Sainz, Oscar Piastri, Hauger, Zhou, Tsunoda, Ocon, Sargent, Théo Pourchaire, Liam Lawson, Fittipaldi, Hülkenberg, Stroll, and Nick de Vries rounds off the grid. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Can I get your take on Ferrari? And we welcome Anthony Davidson to the commentary box once again, and we've got new aero reg changes. It's going to take some time to work these out.
There are a few downcast looks within the team this weekend. I think they've been hit fairly hard by the new regs. But this is only the first step down a long road of development, and even if they don't maximise their points today, there are plenty more up for grabs this season.
I wonder how Lance Stroll feels qualifying 21st when one of the guys who's replaced him is literally starting in 4th and leading the championship. It must be a strange sensation. In any case, we're going to be starting ahead of Max Verstappen here, which is actually really good for us because he is the only person who sits ahead of us in the Drivers' Championship at the moment. If we can outscore him today, then hopefully we should be able to at least bring a little bit of the fight back to him in the Drivers' Championship. I don't think that we're going to be able to close the gap unless he has a retirement. You know, obviously we had the retirement in Australia, but nonetheless, I am optimistic that we can get a good start here. Hopefully jump at least one of these guys in front, if not both of them, and then just try and defend like hell to try and close the gap to Verstappen in the Drivers' Championship. But we will see what we can do as the lights come on. And the lights go out, and Albon has gone nowhere. We almost crashed into the back of him. That's how slowly he was going off the start. Leclerc had a very good start on those soft compound tyres, and to be fair, I think Verstappen has had a pretty good one too. He's already alongside me as we go through the first couple of corners, and he might actually be looking to make this overtake by the looks of things, as he's going to try and sweep round the outside of me as we exit the sort of snail section at the beginning of the track. And you can see he is already through into P2, so we've not gained any positions as far as the start is concerned. We got ahead of Albon, of course, but then we fell behind Verstappen as well, so the net position change is 0, and now we're just going to see if we can try and stay with these guys on the soft compound tyres ahead. But, well, they just seem to be breaking away and breaking away. My pace in this middle sector is on show for everyone about how worse it is compared to the rest of the cars around. You can see Perez and Russell behind closing me down quite significantly, to the point that Perez was even looking for a move up the inside there, but he wasn't able to find it, and we have managed to just about stay ahead for the time being. But Verstappen already broken out of DRS range. Keeping in mind we're not even at the end of the first lap yet. I know he's on the soft compound tyres, but Jesus, that is a significant pace differential between myself and Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc for that matter as well, you know, leading the Grand Prix at the moment. Maybe he'll be able to close this one out over the Aston Martin. I sort of boldly at the start of the season predicted that the Ferraris wouldn't be in a championship fight, and Leclerc has actually had a pretty strong start to the season from what I have seen. So yeah, maybe I should have not been so quick to judge based on the first race that we saw. In any case, as we make our way onto lap 2 now, you can see that I'm going to have a bit of a task on my hand to defend from the cars behind, and that is immediately made clear once the DRS is enabled on lap 3. Sergio Perez making his way through into the hairpin, and by the time we get there, he is a full car length ahead of me, and I am booted off the podium, which is pretty bad news given that I just signed a new sponsor whose target is for me to be finishing on the podium. Well, for one of the drivers on the team to be finishing on the podium every single race. Now Russell making his way through as we make our way onto lap 4 as well. Things going from bad to worse for us all of a sudden here. I don't know what's going on with our pace, but we're just going absolutely nowhere. You can see, yeah, we lost 2 positions in the space of just a few corners there, and something tells me that we're going to be coming under pressure from our teammate behind before we're piling the pressure on to George Russell in front. But I've been wrong before. We tried to get back at him a little bit there, but this time just not really feasible, unfortunately, as we fast forward our way through to the end of the lap. And yeah, now Kevin Magnussen piling a little bit of pressure on us. Russell and Perez broken away by almost 2 seconds at this point. That's how slow the pace is for me compared to the rest of these guys. Magnussen now going up the inside, inverting the cars. We'll see if he can chase after the Red Bulls, and I will try and defend from Albon and Sainz for as long as I can to try and give Magnussen the best possible chance of scoring a P5 or higher that I possibly can. If the chance for me to score points here is not going to be one that I'm going to be able to take, then I want at least Kevin Magnussen to be in with a shot of doing it. Unfortunately, I didn't really last very long in front of Alex Albon before he was able to make his way back through into P6. Honestly, what a shocking start from Alex Albon. He gets his first ever pole position and he absolutely bottles it. Really disappointing for Alex Albon, who I'm sure would have been wanting to gun for a first win in Formula 1. You know, obviously he had that podium in Australia, but you know, I'm sure he would have wanted to go one better and win here today. That's probably not on the cards anymore with him down in P6 and Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen a long way out in front. Carlos Sainz now making his way past me on lap 6, and well, I kind of get the feeling that this is going to be one of those races that I had all too often last season, where I just fell further and further down the order. Not sure what it is specifically about this circuit, but just seems to be lacking in the grip that I like. You know, there's some drivers who really thrive in low grip conditions. I think of Valtteri Bottas, who of course retired last season at the end of the season, having won the World Championship. Meanwhile, there's me. I thrive a lot better in the sort of higher grip circuits when I can feel like I can get really hooked up around the circuit. Norris now making his way back past me. We're going to be out of the points in a second, the rate we're going. We're actually about to come under pressure now from our former teammate, Dennis Hauger. That's not something that ever would have happened last season. I don't know what they're feeding him at Aston Martin, but it seems to have made him a far better driver, frankly, because he would not have even been close to me on basically any circuit. Although now I say that, I actually think he did beat me in China last season as well. It was one of the only occasions in which Dennis Hauger actually finished ahead of me. But we are going to fight him back a little bit, which is probably the most fight we've showed all race since the very beginning. And yeah, Dennis Hauger staying behind us for the time being, but that is only a temporary situation, as Hauger now is going to size up and move up the inside into the hairpin once again, and we are down into P10. And well, we're going to be out of the points very, very quickly at the rate we're going. And well, I just can't seem to stay with them, no matter how hard I try. You know, I'm not driving any differently. I'm not distracted by anything. Like sometimes when I record these videos, you know, there's nothing that's stopping me from driving at my maximum potential. It's just simply that this is it for whatever reason. I don't know if I'm just bad at the circuit or what the deal is, but something is very fundamentally wrong with what's going on with my driving, and I can't really explain it as we go a bit wide there. And yeah, I got another track limits warning, so we need to be really careful now because we've already had 2 and we're not even halfway through the Grand Prix. We get 1 more, that's going to be a penalty coming our way, which, you know, at the rate we're going, we're going to be finishing last anyway, so I don't know if a penalty is going to be affecting us too much, as we do manage to defend from Gasly for the time being. But man, this is just so depressing right now. I feel like we have no pace compared to any of these guys as we make our way into the back straight on lap 10 now. Pierre Gasly looking for the move. I have to give him a little bit of space in one place. I'm going to try and defend to the inside here, but I think he's going to try and go around the outside. In the end, we actually go deep, and he goes for the switchback on us. That was entirely my fault. You know, very, very avoidable. But yeah, we do fall into the outside of the points positions. So now we're just fighting for pride more than anything. I think we can probably keep everyone after Piastri and Pourchaire behind us, so P13 should be achievable here. Esteban Ocon, you know, that race, for whatever reason, he's having similar problems to me or something. He must be, because he's also just showing absolutely zero pace here. You know, he's ahead of the 2 Alfa Romeos, but that's about it. He's behind the 2 Hasses, despite the fact he's in an Alpine, which should be faster. His teammate, of course, has already overtaken me at this point, seeming not to have those same problems. Piastri now making his way through for P11, and I've decided to take the executive decision here that if I want any chance of fighting for points here, I'm going to have to do something different with the strategy. So we're going to do what we did in Bahrain, and we're going to box a few laps early for these hard compound tyres. I've decided this is the strat. I think this is legitimately a good strategy that I'm going to be doing in a lot of races this season, I would have to imagine, which is boxing early for a set of tyres that may or may not, you know, last till the end of the Grand Prix. I mean, in the case of the hard compound tyres, they absolutely will, but boxing early and just trying to get as big of an undercut as I possibly can on the cars in front. You know, right now, if I'm lapping 2-3 seconds a lap faster than the cars that were in front of me before, I should maybe be able to get back into the points by the time everyone has boxed. The only downside to this is that everyone who started on the softs is going to be boxing either this lap or next. So, yeah, we're not going to get that big of an undercut on them. But maybe the people who started on the mediums will be able to fight with a little bit better. Who knows? As we are catching Lance Stroll now. Kevin Magnussen's into the pit. And yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I'm only getting a 1 lap undercut on some of these guys. But anyone who started on the mediums, hopefully I can get a bit more of an undercut on them as we dive around the outside of Stroll here. Are we going to go for the sweeping move around the outside? Yes, we are. It's not really a competition. He's in a much slower car and on much older tyres. I wouldn't be surprised if he's actually going to come into the pits. But at least we didn't waste too much time getting past him. We'll see if there's anyone who we were fighting with before who we're going to be fighting with once again coming out of the pits. Oscar Piastri here. He's on fresh mediums. Can we go for a move at this signature position where we love to make overtakes in previous years' games? We are now back ahead of Oscar Piastri. I don't know what that net position will be. I think P11, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't manage to make too many more overtakes on cars in front. It really just depends on what my pace is like compared to theirs, how quickly I can get ahead of these cars in front, and you know, also how well the sort of tyres can fight with their tyres. As we try to go for a move on Tsunoda here, but he just perfectly blocks us. That's cost us heaps of time, and is putting us under pressure from Piastri here a little bit as well, actually. So yeah, Tsunoda really not doing me a favour there. Of course, these two drivers were two drivers I was considering signing for this season. Neither of them ended up joining for different reasons, and now we are going to just try and get ahead of them as quickly as we possibly can. Getting ahead of Tsunoda there. Now we're going to try and make the move on Esteban Ocon with the DRS. Oscar Piastri is kind of following me through here a little bit, which is a little bit annoying because I was hoping that we would be able to maybe drop him out of our DRS range and yeah, try and maybe sort of break away from him if we possibly could. Doesn't seem like it's going to be happening on this occasion, as we've got ahead of Ocon now, and yeah, that's just about the best we're going to do here, I think, as we make our way onto lap 14 now. Still a few cars left to box. Hauger has pitted, however, and he's still ahead of us, so we're not going to be getting ahead of him. And so the best we can possibly be looking for here is P10. But with Piastri overtaking me and me going deep into the corner, I think that that may be a little bit of a sort of, you know, hopeful dream that we've got going on. I don't think that it's going to come to fruition, sadly, as yeah, we are currently, I think, now out of the net points, regardless of where Gasly and Pourchaire end up. I think that the best position we can be hoping for here is going to be P11, and I wouldn't be surprised if Gasly and Pourchaire do end up beating us out. So yeah, it's not looking good here for us in terms of scoring any points, so which I almost can't believe. You know, the car we've got, we really should be at least scoring points here, but Gasly is potentially going to be going for a move at some point soon. Otherwise, you know, I don't really know why I'm showing you this. Yeah, Gasly just seemed to catch up to me. You know, he was a few seconds behind me out of the pit stop phase, but he just seemed to close me down super quickly at the rate of more than 1 second per lap. You know, I know he's on slightly fresher tyres, but Jesus, man, like, he was just absolutely rapid compared to me. Nothing I could do to fight him, and I wouldn't be surprised if Pourchaire makes a little bit of an effort to close the gap sooner rather than later as well. I think we should be able to stay ahead of Hulkenberg, the gap 13 seconds behind us, but man, I don't know what has happened to our pace in this race. It's just disappeared. I'm 1 second slower than every other car in the sort of top 7 teams here. I don't know why that is. I look like I'm in a backmarker car. At least when I was in a backmarker car, it was slightly more understandable. But yeah, my pace around China is just non-existent. I feel like I'm gonna have to think about not including this track on the calendar in future seasons, because this is just not fun to drive. It's probably not very fun to watch, I would have to imagine, either, me just getting overtaken. And now I get into that awkward part in the race now that Pourchaire has got ahead of me, where I'm just going to be in a no man's land for the next 10 laps. You know, there will be no battling here or anything like that. At least in Mexico, we do have the propensity to actually have a pretty good race. Baku, I don't know what that's going to be like either. I wouldn't be surprised if that one kind of was awful for us as well. But yeah, this was just embarrassing, quite frankly. I don't know why I'm so washed around this track. You know, we're in China, and I really am gonna have to get ready to learn Chinese, buddy, because this is unacceptable. You know, if I was not the driver, I would throw myself out of the team for a performance like this, as we finally get a retirement from this Grand Prix. It's not one that makes a difference to my life, though, because it is Enzo Fittipaldi and the Williams who was already behind us. A little bit of contact there between, I believe, Stroll is the driver trying to get ahead of Fittipaldi there. And yeah, that is going to be the end of my former teammates' race, as yeah, the number of cars in this race drops to just 21. We now catch up with us once again on lap 24. You can see the gap to Hulkenberg has remained pretty consistent. We've managed to pull a little bit further away from him, but not too much. And the gap to the cars in front, goodness me, Pourchaire overtook me on lap 19. That means he's lapping 1.6 seconds a lap faster than me, and I'm in clear air. Yes, I'm on slightly older tyres, but it should not be this dramatic of a difference. You know what I mean? I don't know why it's happening. I feel like this brakes issue I was talking about, it has never been more pronounced than it was here. The car just did not feel like it was stopping into the corners. I had to brake so early to get the car stopped in time. I don't know how other drivers aren't having this problem. Another thing I remarked was that the tyres were overheating, and I don't know why that was happening either. You know, I'm racing on a setup which, you know, supposedly is sort of optimized for the race around this circuit, and that doesn't feel like it's the case from how the car has been handling. You know, the car did well in qualifying and then kind of tanked in the race a little bit. Now we're looking at Oscar Piastri. He's also retiring from the Grand Prix, so at least I'm going to get one position back. But yeah, I don't know why this has happened today. I really couldn't tell you. I think it's just the China thing, possibly, that the circuit really doesn't suit my driving style for whatever reason. I don't know how or why. Maybe it's a controller thing. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Have you guys had similar sort of struggles around China, where you feel like your pace compared to the AI is just absolutely non-existent? Or is it me personally who's just washed around here? Because that is a very realistic possibility. I don't know. In any case, Max Verstappen wins the Grand Prix. He's kind of starting to run away with the championship now. I think he led home Charles Leclerc and the two Red Bulls. So yeah, a decent performance there from those guys. I think Magnussen came home in P6, so solid from him. But from our end, my goodness, this has got to be one of the worst Grand Prix weekends I think I've ever had in terms of my race pace. And we're going to round the final corner to take P12, and that really was not even remotely good enough. Probably the worst race I think I've had in terms of my own sort of performance in maybe this entire series. I can't think of a worse one off the top of my head.
It's a performance to be proud of from our Chinese Grand Prix winners today. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
Aston Martin's performance today has shown that they can be competitive with the biggest names in the sport. They're making their way out onto the podium now as we speak, and the reaction from the crowd must be incredibly uplifting for them.
Well, Max Verstappen claims another win this season. That's 2 race wins in a row now for him. He'll be very happy with that. And then the podium is completed by Leclerc and Perez. So, yeah, solid performances all round. And, yeah, maybe Leclerc will be more involved in the championship fight than I thought. I think both Red Bulls have the propensity to get involved as well as they finish 3rd and 4th. But I do think this is Max Verstappen's biggest opportunity so far to get his 3rd World Championship.
Let's review the updated drivers' standings. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. Some amazing talent out there on track today. But Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
Max Verstappen seemed to just effortlessly weave through the other drivers today without a care in the world. He was definitely my driver of choice.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship.
Aston Martin move up to the top of the standings.
Meanwhile, Ferrari have improved their position. A strong weekend for them as they fight their way towards the top. Well, that certainly was an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
Well, we certainly have been taken down a peg in both championships as we move to, I think we're P6 in the drivers now and P5 in the constructors. So, yeah, things could be a lot worse, though, because Kevin Magnussen has actually scored about half of our team's points so far, as I've gone 2 races without any points. And I believe Azerbaijan is the next Grand Prix, so it's a very realistic possibility we could make it 3 pointless races on the trot. I can't be having that. If I want to be winning a world championship, I cannot be failing to score points in 3 consecutive races. I know that the mechanical failure was not my fault in the previous race, but goodness me, it's just not going to be good enough if I want any chance of fighting for the championship this season. I might as well strike myself off of the championship contenders list already if that's going to be the case. I don't really know why that's happened, but it has, and all we can do is just try and get ourselves into the points, at least in Baku. We need at least that. We need something to go our way in Baku, a little bit of luck, something like that. I don't know. Kevin Magnussen, I have been very, very happy with him so far. This is the difference between Magnussen and Hauger, right? Is that if I was finishing P12 in this race and Hauger had been on the team, he would have been P11. I don't know if that's a super fair comparison to make, because I think Dennis Hauger actually did finish 9th in this Grand Prix, so he did score some points. But yeah, Magnussen's 6th. He picked up the slack where I kind of dropped it for a race, and he did that in Australia as well when the car failed. He was still there to claim P8 and get 4 points. So yeah, a solid performance from Magnussen there. I'm pretty happy with him. You know, he's already on 20 points this season, so he's doing pretty well. I am still ahead of him because I had that race win in Bahrain, of course. But I think Bahrain is just a good circuit for me, honestly. And yeah, I don't know. I think that it might end up being one of the only wins I get this season if we continue on the sort of run of form we're looking at. I just don't seem to be getting hooked up with the car. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the upgrades or if it's the game or the tracks, or there's something that's going on that is just really hampering us right now. You know, when I'm at a track I like, I seem to be doing well. I seem to be getting wins and stuff like that. You know, I like Bahrain. I like I'm trying to think where else I won. Japan on this year's game, I actually really enjoy. Brazil is another track I absolutely love, and I won there, of course. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried that if it's only tracks that I really enjoy and do well around that I'm going to be getting wins at. I think that this is going to be very hard to win even one championship, never mind however many I was gunning for. And yeah, we're maybe even gonna end up playing second fiddle to Kevin Magnussen at the rate we're going, if he overtakes us in the driver standings in Azerbaijan. But anyway, that's a topic for the next video, and that's going to be it for this one. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.